Hi, today is Wednesday, March 13th, and I'm here doing a live session. So if you're looking at this video at any other time, just know that it is an upload. It is approximately 7:12 p.m. and I am late starting today. So I'm going to wait and see if I get anyone in the chat room. Hi everybody, sorry I'm late today. I've had a long day. So I'm just waiting for people to come into the chat room. And I don't even have my cell phone. Let me see if it's in my jacket pocket first. So I'll be right back in a few minutes. Let me go get my cell phone. Sorry about that. It's been one of those days. I fell asleep and wasn't planning on falling asleep. And I woke up about 5 minutes to 7, so I had to get myself together a little bit, but then forgot my phone. So, looks like we've got about 14 people in the chat.
For years, I thought I was lactose intolerant. Turns out I was.
Okay. So thanks everybody for coming. Again, sorry for being late today. I had a lecture last night, started at 7, but I, of course, had been working earlier in the day for that. And then I got home about maybe 10:15 p.m. and then I had to go back today for a class that started at 9. We went from 9 to about 3:30, somewhere around that time. So I got home about an hour later, and I was just tired. Apparently I was watching TV and fell asleep. Woke up about 5 minutes to 7. So sorry about being late. And I don't even know if I want to even do our topic tonight. Should we do our topic, or should we save it for next week, or are you all ready? Because I don't have a whole lot to say. So let me know what you all think in the comments. And I'll go through and read who's here. We got Diane 57. Thank you so much for being there, waiting for me to come in there. She says, there you are. Lorna says, hello, beautiful. I caught you live. Thank you so much, Lorna. Deb says, hello, T. I hope you're well. I am well. I'm just tired. June Hanson says, hi, Miss T and everyone. Diane 57 says, my alarm went off and said, it's Teaquilts time, and I couldn't find Teaquilts. Maybe I need to set an alarm. Joan Elkins is here. She says, hi, T, and hi, everyone. Hi, Joan. Thank you so much for waiting. We're getting a few more people in, so maybe we will do the topic. Let's see. Miss Bonita is here. She says, hey, Miss T and everyone. Patricia Whipple is here. She says, hi, T and everyone. Happy to be catching this live. Thank you, Patricia, for coming. I'm late as usual today, just making sure everybody know that you haven't missed anything. Mary Smith says, hi, T from Brooklyn. I'm glad you're here. I was starting to get nervous. Just tired, child. My body had fell asleep on me. Judy Smith says hi, T. Leetta Bryan is here. She says hi, T, and everyone. Judy Smith says hi, hello, everyone. Joan says, I'm trying to design my own quilt. Any suggestions would be helpful. I'm using paper graph. I haven't done that in a long time. But it's doable, but you just put in your main elements that you want in the quilt first, like whatever you want in the center per se, and then you might go out and do your corners, and then you can kind of fill in from there. Basically on design, that's about all I can say without actually going into it in depth. And it's kind of like what I do in electric quilt when I design my t-shirt quilts and things like that. It's all just done electronically. But you have to make sure that you allocate a number to each square. So if each square equals 3 inches and you have a 12-inch block, then that means for every 4 blocks is 12 inches. So you have to keep that proportion in mind. But other than that, there's not a whole lot I can add as far as a question right off the top and me not doing an actual video. Linda is here. She said, yay, finally made it on time. Welcome from Rockaway, New Jersey. Hi, Linda. Welcome. Cherie says, hi, everyone. It's been a while. Welcome back. Judy Smith says, not ready for topic either. I know, tired. Sandra Jacobs says, good evening, everyone. I got worried when you weren't here. I thought YouTube was messing up today too. Yeah, because I didn't even know that Facebook had been messing up, because I haven't been on Facebook in the last 2 days. I basically have dropped a post here and there, but I haven't like tried to read a whole lot of statuses or try to do a whole lot of posting. So I didn't even know it was acting up until I started seeing posts from friends where it was acting up. Donna Thompson is here. She says she lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Hi, welcome to the chat. And we've got Tina Selena says, glad to be here, looking forward to this. Sandra Weston says, hi, T and everyone. Welcome to the chat, ladies. I guess we chat about anything you. We can go ahead and chat. It seems like we're starting to get people in. We're up to 34 now. Cherie says, it's that daylight savings time that's making us sleepy. Well, my case is, or is it in my excuse? And that's the other thing on daylight savings time. I knew it was happening like when I went to sleep. And when I woke up the next day, I started moving around. And it wasn't until 10 p.m. that I realized, when I was looking for the evening news, that it was 11 and I had missed the news. So that was kind of messed up. So it could be that. And Diane is asking, are you using EQ? She's using graph paper, Diane. Eric Oda is here. He says, hello, I'm here, but I'll only be listening. You got to give some tips on longarm machine quilting. Carolyn Bowser is here. She says, hi, T, just tuning in. Glad to be part of the chat. And Kathy J. Mitchell says, any suggestions? I'm getting ready to work on a t-shirt quilt. I got a whole video series on Teaquilts. You can search Teaquilts and t-shirt quilt. I've started one from selecting shirts, cutting shirts, all of that. So it's called the Harley Treads quilt. So if you look up that series, I don't remember how many parts, but it at least has 5 or 6 parts. I show you how to make one and use a particular layout from start to finish. And then I've probably also got other t-shirt quilt videos on my playlist as well. So check that out. It's way too much information to give here, but the main thing is that you do want to use some type of stabilizer. One of my videos talk about the different types of stabilizer in that Harley Treads quilt so that you don't select the wrong kind. And Diane is telling Joan that she drew hers out. The visuals help. Pat is here. She says, good afternoon from Houston. Debbie Huey is here. She says, hi, y'all. Hey, Debbie. Joan Elkin says, good videos on tees. Bonita says, I found and bought a new tool. I do not know for applique there is a see-through. I did not know for applique there is a see-through Teflon sheet. I've been using the brown sheets that you can cook with too. Yes, there is a, mine was kind of clear, like a frosted kind of sheet. I don't know. I think this new one might be a little bit more clearer that you can use. But I'm still going to use my cooking sheets because I don't need to see most of my applique that I do. And I think the true applique sheets are going to cost you a little bit more money. So good point, Bonita, that you came out with. They got a new tool out. Angela 63 is here. Hi, Angela. Seeing Forrest, we haven't heard from you in a while. Where you been? She says, hi, Tan, everyone. Sorry, I'm a bit late to the party. We started late today. We just starting. Maybe been on about 10 minutes now. Maybe about 7 minutes, maybe somewhere around there. Joan says the stabilizer part was the best. Thank you, Joan. Linda Orm says, hi from Tennessee. Love your programs. Need suggestions for easy quilting projects for nursing home residents. I volunteer and have done 2 projects so far and they love it. If I'm doing quilts that are going to be given away, I'm going to use the simplest patterns that I can use, like 9 patches, disappearing 9 patches, 4 patch quilts. That's about as far as I would go with patterns like that, or like string quilts, or like using straight strips, not even strings, because I would try to make it as simple as I could for myself if I'm going to give them away like that. Debbie is giving a tip for machine quilting. She says, always remember to oil. Saves a lot of wasted troubleshooting time. Good tip. Thank you so much, Miss Debbie. And I would have to agree with that, especially on a Longarm machine. It's got so many oil points. I'm looking for the piece that goes behind my behind my iPad. And just to bring you down a little bit, like that. And my Longarm area is not clean. I have had a long week. It's been rough. I could not clean in between this week. So tips for quilting. If you are a hand quilter, can you please post some tips for the people that might be watching this for the hand quilting? Because I don't enjoy hand quilting. Hand quilting has never been one of my favorite things to do. I've tried everything. I even have a goober lap frame, and I've got it in the closet somewhere collecting dust probably. I even have the thimble in the bird cage. I'm for blocking, is it Roxanne's? I'm thinking it's Roxanne's thimble, which everybody recommend. And that thimble didn't work for me, although it is very pretty. I have it. I paid a lot of money for it, but I've been using just the plain old leather thimbles that you put over your finger that stretch to any size. So if someone has some tips for hand quilting, it would really be appreciated. Bonita says, have you made any more t-shirts? I forgot to show you all the t-shirts last week, so I did pull them over. But this is the one that was hanging on the door last week. So I'm hoping you all can see that, because I can't see when you see. And then this is the one that I put on my Facebook group, but I have not put these on my website at all yet. And I also had people asking for, this is the same as the black shirt, but it's on blue in this patterned vinyl. And I was gonna put it on another one on like this, on this pink shirt, but I haven't gotten a chance to put it on the shirt yet. So if you can imagine that on a pink shirt, it's the Don't Worry, Be Scrappy. And then I also did a couple of Teaquilts with the gold, but I put them on color instead of black. This is how it looks on pink. And then this is how it looks on blue. So this is the tea gear, the Teaquilts on the sparkle gold. I just hadn't been sharing these online, but then I'm having people ask me about it in my Facebook group. And then I also did, I'm a Missouri quilter on the blue. So that's currently what I have. I do have some other ideas that I'm not ready to share because I'm not ready to produce those yet. So, but that's what I have that people have been inquiring about. And then Bonita says, let me go back. I must have missed something. Guess we've got some more people came in. Hold on. Pamela Tabor is here. Hi, Pamela. She says, good evening, everyone. We got Lauren King. She says, hi to everyone from Dallas, Texas. Hi, Lauren. Claudette Bettis is here. She says, hello from Anaheim, California. Hi, Claudette. Cian's phone tried to kick her out. It's giving her a punishment for not being here. Carolyn Bowser says, just to let you know, I sent my friend Brenda one of your t-shirts and she loved it. Says she will wear it to her quilt meeting. Oh, thank you so much. That's really sweet. Patricia says, I love hand quilting, but I don't use a hoop, just quilt in my lap. And I have heard of other people using their lap. They don't use any kind of a hoop at all. And then I see where some people use the old-fashioned frames, as well as some people that use the newer frames that you roll automatically. It's like a long arm for hand quilting. So thank you for the tip for the hand quilter. Cherie says, I think hand quilting is only fun in a group. You feel more dedicated to the project. That's just my thought. And I do know that we have a few churches in our area that does it, but they are mostly super old ladies. Say super old ladies. They're in their 80s and 90s, and their problem is that they feel that it's going to die out if they don't get any new members. So Darlene Farmer says, I suggest hand quilters work on standardizing your stitches and not the number of stitches per inch. And I agree with that. That's good. A lot of times we're told when we're taught that you're supposed to get 12 stitches to an inch, and that's not as important as making them cohesive. You're correct. Thank you, Darlene, for your tip. Bonita says, where do you get your vinyl? Is there a link? I get my vinyl at 2 places, and I do have links. And I don't know if it's in all videos, but it is at least in the vinyl videos. If I'm buying a small amount of vinyl, like 1 piece, 12 inches wide by 12 to 15 inches long, then I'll buy it from Expressions Vinyl. But if I'm gonna buy a roll, like on my major colors, like white, red, and black, I've been buying it by the roll. I even bought lime green by the roll. And I buy that at Heat Press Nation. And I do have an affiliate links with both of those. And I find that it was cheaper. I haven't found anyone else that can give me, like, when I start buying like 5 yards at a time, can give me the cheaper amount. And like when I'm doing these Missouri quilter shirt, it takes about 12 inches to do this shirt. So I need a lot of white. That shirt and the one with the Be Scrappy, because it has the white sewing machine on it. So that's where I purchase most of my vinyl. Cherie says, does your t-shirts come in does your t-shirt come in beautiful sizes? You get me? On the black ones, I do have like 2XLs and 3XLs. But on the colors, I couldn't, as a new person starting out, I had already spent quite a bit on t-shirts, so I mostly got sizes that I would normally sell, and I only got black in 2X and 3XL. Next time I order, I can get some colors in other sizes, but any of the shirts that you see, if you want 2XLs or 3XLs, it'll have to be in black for right now. I'm not saying that I can't go back and get more. It was just I had to get what I felt I could sell as far as what size people ordered from me the most. And I've been selling quite a few 2Xs and 3Xs too, because a lot of people knew I didn't have a lot. Darlene says, hand quilters take frequent hand breaks. Yes, thank you. She's giving them to you, ladies. Joan says, Benita, I was wondering too. Kathleen Easter says, what is your Facebook group? It's Teaquilts LLC, just like my YouTube name, and I'm also on Instagram under Teaquilts. Patricia says, I'm a super old lady. That's why I hand quilt. Get to sit a lot. I'm sorry about that comment. But Donna says, you should ask permission before advertising. Oh, I guess she must have blocked something. I get so lost up in here, y'all. Arna says, hello. Cherie says, sounds good. Black is great. On which one? You have to email me and let me know which one you're talking about, because I've showed so many shirts by now. Teaquilts at teaquilts.com, just like my YouTube name. That's how my email is. Bonita says, is that a banner behind you? I saw it on Facebook. Yes, it is. I'm not real happy with that banner. What I showed you was a proof that I sent to the company for them to make my banner. And instead of them putting it on canvas, they had an upgrade for fabric, so I had it put on fabric. But for some reason, I'm thinking it's going to be 100% cotton, like canvas duck. And it's kind of got a polyester in it. And I think it probably is 100% polyester, but when they heat pressed it, it shrunk a lot, so it's kind of puffy. See how it's not hanging straight? And you know I'm I want it perfect, so it ain't perfect. So I hung it up to see if some of it would fall out, and of course none of it has fallen out. So right now it's just hanging up there. Don says, hello everyone. I kept looking online for you and finally found you. Super late today, Don. Thank you for being persistent. Shrivia says, hello to everyone. And thank you. I'll look for your email, Cherie, so I know which one and what size. All right. So I don't have any tips that I can add other than making sure that you got good products. And like I said, the majority of people do like the Roxanne thimble. And when I was doing, and I do like, even, I'm going to go ahead and add this in because it's handwork, but applique, like needle turn applique. I love the Roxanne basted glue. I like that as well, because I was able to put my pieces down and then I was needle turn under. So, regular machine quilting. There are so many tools for regular machine quilting. The ones when I used to do a lot of it is, if I'm doing free motion, on some machines you have to drop your feed dogs. Now, I had machines that had that old kind of plate you put over and cover your feed dogs, and it didn't stay in place all the time. So sometimes I would just take an index card and tape over my machine and start quilting. But what was even funnier for me was that I realized that sometimes my feed dogs helped me to guide. So sometimes I wouldn't even cover or drop my feed dogs. I would just, like on my singers, it had a weird setting where it wanted me to increase my stitch length, which had nothing to do when I dropped my feed dogs. It wanted me to increase my stitch length all the way as high as it would go, and on those machines it was 4.0. So that also helped. Make sure if you're using a hopper foot, I like the kind that are open. And if yours isn't open and it's plastic, I just had my husband, he has one of those little hand saws that can saw through anything, and he's just sawed it right off for me so that I had just an opening so I could see where I was going. I felt like I could follow where I wanted to go, or if I was following lines that were already pre-drawn, like some kind of a pattern, then I was able to see it a little better with having the hopper foot that was open. There are so many tools. I recommend you get you a pair of machine gloves. They're the thinnest ones, so they're not as hot as some others. I know that a lot of people like to go buy the dollar store gardening gloves, but for me, eventually my hands would get hot faster, so I tended to go ahead and buy the machine gloves. So if anybody else have tips for home-based domestic sewing machines, please drop them below. Patricia says, no offense taken to super old women. It's funny and so true. All quilters should just find joy in their work. Thank you. Cherie says, hey T, why limit yourself to t-shirts? How about special line of tea bags, especially for stressed quilters? I do have a few. I've got some bags. I haven't done anything with them. I had ordered one as a test, and then I sent that one out to Diane, I think. Yeah, I sent it to Diane because I just wanted to see what her opinion on it was, and she said she liked the bag and she liked that it had a zipper. You know, us quilters, we tend to make our own bags because we like to have all the specialty pockets and things like that. So yeah, I don't know how much of that I will do. I will order a few and then see what that do. So if somebody's interested in that, and I just haven't advertised that kind of stuff because I knew that my March and April months were going to be my busiest months. I'm trying to look at my March calendar that's here. See, this week I got to finish my brother's taxes because I still haven't gotten his taxes done. And then, you know, stuff just comes up. I decided I was going to take my mother with me on our trip. We're going on another trip this summer. And her passport expired, so impromptu I had to get her passport renewed. And then I decided maybe her sister wanted to go, so now I got her and her sister going. So I'm working with both of them to get them booked and scheduled. So it just takes time for all of that kind of stuff. It was more time than I planned on spending. So my mom just turned 80 on March 9th, and so I thought that it would be a great idea to take her on a trip because it's not going to be many more trips like that she can take. Darlene says, do you change your needle? It depends. I might change my needle every other project just to save on some needles. As far as when I'm quilting, but after I quilt something, so say if I piece a quilt and then I use that needle to quilt, then I most definitely will change my needle when I go back to piecing. So I don't change all the time for every project unless I'm getting bad stitches. I know you're supposed to change your needle after every project. I'm just not one of those people that do it. I kind of look and see if I'm having any troubles or difficulties, and if I'm having trouble, then I will change it. If I'm sewing on batik fabrics, then I change the needle because the batiks are so much denser that they do ruin needles. They take the sharp point away. So if you're sewing with batiks, I would recommend you change your needle most definitely. Even on piecing, I change my needle when I'm doing a lot of batik piecing. Francesca, welcome. She says, I use painter's tape to keep my super slide in place. And that's a good idea. Thanks for that tip, Francesca. And you can also use painter's tape to mark straight lines so that you don't have to draw them. And it depends on the size of quilt, because if you're working with a bed quilt, the painter's tape might come up. But if you're working with something that's smaller and you want to do a crosshatch grid, then the painter's tape is great on small projects. Darlene says, what type of thread do you use for domestic quilting? The same thread that I use for piecing. So I would use, and I've even, I think thread is important sometimes and not all the time. It just depends on what you want. Some people don't like shiny threads. Some people want shiny threads and they might want a glitter thread or a metallic thread. It just depends on what it is, what look you're going for. My basic quilting thread, when I was sewing on my domestic, before I started buying Longarm thread, I just used my basic thread that I use for piecing. So if I was, back then I was using Coats and Clark. There's nothing wrong with Coats and Clark. It's 100% cotton. Well, it's mercerized cotton, which means it's polyester covered in cotton. But people say that it gets linty, but it's never bothered me. I just clean every time I change my bobbin. I just make sure I kind of clean the area out and make sure nothing's coming through. And I clean it out before I start piecing and after I piece, of course. Anytime you're changing your needle, you should be cleaning your bobbin area as well. Also, I have people, my friend use all Gutermann thread, so she quilts with Gutermann thread. I have people that will quilt with the rayon threads that you use for machine embroidery. If they can withstand the fast needle of machine embroidery, they can definitely withstand machine quilting. So you can basically machine quilt with anything. And then on my long arms, you got into different brands. You've got signature threads. You've got Glide. You've got like your specialty threads, like King Cut will have a variegated threads. You got some variegated threads that are shiny, like Rainbow Threads by Superior Threads. That line is shiny and it changes color. And then I've also used just plain old permacore, which is what I use a lot. The Gamos tend to love permacore thread. So it is very linty. I just make sure that before I change out the bobbin that I clean it very well. I use actually a paintbrush, and I didn't bring that over here. I'll go get it. But I use a paintbrush that I actually got out of the art supply section. I used to use the dollar ones I could get at the dollar store, but I find those bristles would come off and be in the machine. So I'm like, well, I don't want those in my machine, so I stopped buying those. But I just buy ones I'll show you at Michael's in a few. So any kind of thread will work depending on what you're quilting on. The tip is, don't accidentally put in a hand quilting thread into your sewing machine, because you're gonna strip your tension disc, and then you're gonna have to get a new tension housing. So don't do that. That's the main thing. Diane has a great tip. She says make sure you have 3 bobbins ready to go. That's a good idea. Sandra Weston says Fons and Porter's cotton gloves work well for me. That's pretty cool. And those are their, I'm assuming that they're their cutting gloves, or are they the machine quilting gloves? I don't know yet, so we'll finish that off her answer later. Kathy says, my advice for free motion quilting on my domestic: make sure to pin well, great. Start with a new needle, great. And relax your shoulders, great. And that works very well for newbies, to relax them shoulders, because you don't even know that your shoulders are up. And then when you tell them to let your shoulders down, and then you see them visibly come down, because they get a little nervous when they realize that they're going to machine quilt. So thank you, Kathy, for those tips. I really appreciate you participating. Cherie says, is anyone going to AQS show in Lancaster, PA at the end of the month? Not me. Hopefully you're reading the comments and know already if anybody is doing it. Diane says the bag that I sent her is big enough for my 15-inch laptop. Okay, because I haven't, I ordered that one as a test, and I put on my page, on my Facebook page, to see if anybody else was interested, so I didn't get any interest on it. But what I think I might do is just order one or two of each color and see what they do. I'm not gonna invest a whole lot in the tote bags, but that's good to know that it will fit a laptop. And Bonita, thank you so much. She's saying happy belated birthday to my mom. She says the bag is also good looking and well made. And I took those bags downstairs, so I don't have that. Don says, how lucky and fun to go with mom and aunt. Are you going on a cruise? That's why I need passports. No, we're actually going to go to Cancun, Mexico. I don't know what two ladies that's 79 and 80 are going to do in Cancun, but they're going. Going to Cancun this year. Christine is here. She says, hi, T. Better late than never. Welcome. We started about 15 minutes late today. Don says, you're locked up on my screen. Is this just my computer? I don't think I've been locked. I try to watch this screen and my phone. That's why I always have my phone as well, so that I can read the comments closer instead of always leaning into the screen, but also so that I can see when I freeze. I'll see it before you all see it. So she says she's back. Arna says, I like So Fine and King Tut for quilting. So that's some more brands that I think are superior threads, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you for suggesting some threads. And then Don asks, is permacore a cotton or poly wrapped cotton? I'm not sure. I think it's cotton because it lints up like it's 100% cotton. It can be very, very linty, and that's why a lot of longarmers don't like to use it. And if you forget to and don't clean your bobbin out, it will start leaving cotton lint balls underneath your quilt. So I have a feeling that it's 100% cotton. If not, it's reacting like it's 100% cotton, because it has a lot of lint. Orna says, I spent 4 hours ripping out what I quilted in 30 minutes. Ain't that the truth? I've had to rip out. Now, the thing on, you're on a long arm and it's on the frame and you have to rip, I have found that if I come on the opposite side and take apart my bobbin stitches instead of trying to unstitch from the top thread, since the bobbin stitch mostly just lay there and barely goes, it goes up to grab, it's a lot flatter than the top stitch, so I find it's easier for me to take my stitches out from the opposite side of the machine. Linda Price says hello to everyone. Hi, Linda. We've got Deborah Richards that came in. She says, hello, I'm late. It's okay. Welcome to the party. We're talking hand quilting, domestic machine quilting, as well as long arm machine quilting. If any of you have any tips you want to add, please go ahead and do so. We'd love to have them. Karen Henderson is here. She says, hello everyone, late as always. My Bernina 790 plus is very fussy lady. Only Metler for her. See, that's a different one. Crazy. Wants the fuzz cleaned out daily. Now that's a lot. I don't clean my machine out daily. I would say I clean it out about every 10 days maybe. It depends on how much I'm sewing. If I'm sewing a lot, then I will clean it out more. But I do a lot of excessive piecing, and then I will come in here and all of a sudden do a lot of excessive long arming. So it just depends. I clean this long arm out a lot faster, a lot more than I do my domestic sewing machine. Claudette says, if you like shiny, Glide is a good thread. Okay, thank you, Claudette. And Claudette, Longarm quilts as well. And I have purchased some smaller spools of Glide. I'm trying to see what's on my machine now. It's not Glide, it's still Permacore. And I just have to test them. But I don't know why I bought like blue and green and purple. I bought colors instead of just buying a neutral color to test the thread. And then when Debbie and I and Eric was in Houston, Debbie told us that she uses Connecting Threads thread, and she uses it for Longarm machine quilting. So I bought some of that thread as well. I just haven't had a chance. I bought it in the neutral color, or the natural, which is kind of like a beige, light beige color, and I just haven't used that color to test that thread out. So that's also a good tip, and you can get a lot of thread at Connecting Threads for a very reasonable price. And when we bought it at the Houston show, we really got it at a good price. Bonita's talking about Margaritaville. I don't know. I'm so lost. Diane says, I can take a picture and post in Facebook group. That would be great, because I forgot to take a picture. I don't know what I was doing when I sent your stuff. I didn't take a picture of your shirt. I didn't take a picture of the bag. I don't know what I was thinking when I done that. Cherie says, what happens in Cancun stays in Cancun. Not much gonna be happening with them. Sandra says, they are machine quilting gloves. My hands don't sweat. Okay, great. So that's good to know. That I thought she was using like 2 of the cutting gloves, so they are the machine quilting gloves. So that's pretty cool. Thank you, Sandra. Rita Whitney is here. She says, hey T, it's Rita Margarita. Hi everyone. Miss, hi Rita, welcome to the chat. Claire says, I use Isocord. That's another name, another brand. So it seems very strong. It's polyester tri-global, 40 weight domestic, or Longarm. Christine says, please remember to give this video a thumbs up. Thank you, Christine. Deb Bridges says, what is the best machine needle to use? The kind that's recommended by your sewing machine. And I say that not being sarcastic, because you got the Smith's needles, and they're great needles. I use them on my baby locks all the time. That's the only brand of needles that I use. But I cannot use those effectively in my Singer sewing machine. Singer machines like their Singer sewing machine needle. I don't know what it is about it, but my Quantrum XL 1000 and my CXL just prefer to have the single needles. Now my Singer featherweight, I can use Smith's needles. So it just depends. So if you feel like something's going on when you change from one brand to the other, then it could be that your machine don't like that particular brand of needles. Have you tried the Slippery Product Supreme Slider? I did try that when I was doing domestic machine quilting, and it does help. It does help a lot. I had one friend where hers got moved, and so she started stitching through it. So you got to be real careful with that. But it does work very well if you're having trouble with stuff sticking to the bed of your machine. It does help stuff move. Eric is a mess. He's brought himself out the corner he put himself in. He says, does anyone use Wonderfield thread? That's another brand. I don't use those brands, so you all help people out. Seem like Isocord is good. And then Rita is saying that the slider is worth it. And Debbie says that the Connecting Threads thread is still her favorite. And Diane says that she uses Connecting Threads thread also. June says, I use Signature thread. It works good. And I only have Signature thread because when I got my Longarm, they gave me quite a few spools of it for free. Tina says, which sewing machines do you suggest? I need a new one. My Kenmore keeps having issues, small ones, but driving me nuts. I can't remember if I've done a video on recommendations for sewing machines, but this is one of those things where you're going to have to kind of do your own homework. You need to know what type of features it is that you're looking for. So the first thing that I would do before I even start trying to figure out a sewing machine is I would go to a sewing machine dealer or some kind of a show, and I would sit down at these machines and sew on them. Are you wanting a machine that has automatic thread cutter? Do you want automatic needle threader? You know, it depends on where you are in your quilt making, what it is that you're looking for. And then I would try to get those features into different brands and then try different brands of machines. Most sewing machine dealers, they sell about 3 or 4 different brands of machines. So they're mostly are not all dedicated to just one brand. If I'm not mistaken, it's just Bernina that only sells Berninas that I'm aware of. Now, I could be wrong, but that's the only place locally that I see that only has one brand of sewing machine. I have a video that I did where I talked about everything in a sewing machine, and I can't remember the title of it, so just please try to search it on YouTube, put Teaquilts, and just say types of sewing machines or something like that. But I know I did an extensive talk on it at some point. I personally cannot tell somebody what sewing machine to buy because my machines are older. So I haven't test drove any of the new machines because I'm not in the market for a machine. And the sewing machine companies are not sending them to me to do free reviews on. So I can't go out and buy new sewing machines. So I can't really recommend one to you. Francesca says, always make a test quilt sandwich on domestic and longarm to test tension and warm up before starting the quilt. Great tips as well, Francesca. She says things to do in Cancun. Oh, okay, Margaritaville. Okay. Vicky Lemire is here. She says hello. Eric says, at Tina, are you the only sewing quilts? If you don't need all the embroidery, decorative stitches, fancy stuff, get a straight stitch only machine. So that was a tip for you. So I'm hoping you're reading the comments. And Diane is also saying that the Supreme slider is good. Just make sure your surface is lint free before applying. Use glass cleaner on a paper towel. And she says she's looking for machines bigger than a 6-inch throat area. Oh my gosh. Eric really don't have time to talk to us today. Don says, I use a lot of Glide, 40 weight, reasonably priced. Machine does well with Glide. I prefer more matte finish though. I like Glide's bobbin line, 60 weight to baste with. Thank you. Cherie says, where can I get Wonderfield thread? First time hearing about it. I don't know if you all can help her. I'm sure it's already in the chat box. Karen says, oh, she's talking to Eric. And then Diane is saying for a brand machine, she should just a Janome or a Juki. Jane Smith says that she loves her brother SE400. I think that's for sewing and quilting on. I think it has a bigger throat. That's why she put that out there. Rita says she likes her new Janome. Kathy says, I find it helps to doodle on paper for free motion design. Very good tip as well. I also will sometimes get my dry erase board and use that as well. So that's a good tip. Eric says he's working on Threadology for Make-A-Wish Foundation. And Karen also loves the Supreme slider. And Rita says, I'm trying to practice at least 15 minutes a day with free motion, and that's a good tip as well. Free motion is something that's not going to come natural, especially when you first start. So the more you practice, the more comfortable and easier it actually becomes. Judy Smith says, there are also reviews online for the Brother and the Foff machines. I wash those before going to the dealer. So those are all very good tips. And then like there are like tools that I use, especially on my Longarm, but you can use some on small spaces on your domestic machines as well. But I like different marking tools. I actually like to use chalk because then I don't have to worry about washing out. I also like to use, so this is just a chalk wheel, and it has a little, one of those blades in here, little wheel, and so as I'm marking, so it'll put chalk marks. So I don't know if you can even see this chalk mark because it's pink on this color. But you can kind of see a little bit of the chalk mark here. And then the chalk will eventually go away as I'm quilting. And then when I'm done, like when I'm through quilting, if I see where the chalk is sitting on the quilt, then I'll just use one of my lint rollers to go and pick up the loose chalk that's on the quilt. And I don't have to worry about wetting it. If I have to, I will use the blue disappearing pen. And then I just make sure that I spray that area down when I'm done quilting. And then I'll go somewhere else and let it completely dry. So I will drench this quilt. Because if you're not planning to machine wash a quilt, especially if it's a customer's quilt, I make sure that I drench that section where I use a blue pen. And then I will make sure that that area completely dries. Because if you don't and you have a white backing, the blue marker will be underneath the quilt sitting on the backing, and you won't know it until you take it off the frame. And then I will also use the disappearing pen. I like it because it will stay on my quilt for about 24 hours and then it will automatically just disappear on its own. So I like that as well. And then for marking, I've got the Ultimate Marking Pencil, which is made by, well, I don't know if it's made by the same people, but I bought it from the guy at the quilt show that sells the stencils, the blue stencils that you can, they're not the blue stencils with the holes. These are the blue stencils that have been kind of lasered so that the powder goes through, but there is no holes. And I do like to use that as well. So those are some of my long arm things, but you can also use those with domestic. And then I have a set of circle rulers that I have, and they own the largest size is 6 inches. So I was on Linda's Electric Quilter site, and you're not going to be able to see this because it's going to be tiny. I've only used 2 of this set here, so I've got 2, 4, 6 pieces, and they're little bitty circles that you actually put on your hopper foot on a long arm. And so this is so that you can get it, this slit is so you can get it into the long arm. And then this hole is the same size as the hopping foot, and it's real snug. And what I use this for is I use it to go around my other rulers when I want to have circles that are bigger. So I've had to use 2 different sizes of them already. I've only had these for a few months, and I've already used 2 of them, but I haven't used the larger ones. I just dropped that. I want my circle. Oh, it's... It blended right into my gray carpet. Okay, so I like those. And then I always like to have some sort of a straight ruler. It doesn't matter which brand, so I'm not even going to talk about brand here because the brand on this doesn't matter. Just some kind of ruler where you can do some kind of straight lines. I sometimes will put the painter's tape on it if I'm using a particular marking line here, then I would do that. And then my other favorite ruler is to have the lowest angle angel. I like it because it's got all the different degrees, so I know what degree line I'm putting across the quilt whenever I'm doing more custom quilt work. So those are the things I have to share. If anybody have anything else they want to share, I will read them now. I recommend going to a quilt show with sewing machine vendors and play with theirs first. Sometimes when I really don't know what to quilt on a quilt top, I get my glass pane, lay it over a quilt block, then use dry erase marker to doodle on a design. That's also a great idea. It's right on top of the quilt. Just got to make sure you don't go off the glass and get onto the quilt with your markers. Falk reviews mention problems with fabrics. I make dresses for grandchildren's quilts, laminated fabric for picnic mats, etc., etc. Lots of foam lighter. So I don't know anything about Falk's lines. I've never owned Falk, Janome, or Bernina's, or Viking. I used to teach Viking people in a Viking shop, and just the mechanism of the Viking was driving me nuts. And this was years ago, and I'm not sure if they've changed it or not. So I didn't want a Viking just because I got tired of hearing the noise. It has a weird start and stop noise that it used to do. Oh, she says lots of fun. I was like, I don't know what foam lighter is, but okay. Trivia says, good night, everyone. I have to do my couponing. I'll watch the rest later. Bye-bye. See ya. Thank you so much for coming. Don says, I thought of something to help T get more subscribers. Those of us on Pinterest start pinning her videos so more people will be exposed to her, so she gets to 10K viewers. Thank you, Don, for the suggestion. And then Eric is telling Tina that he tried Falk once in the showroom and it had problems. Eric uses the Juki 2010 TL for regular piecing and 10 Lizzie Longarm. And Diane, of course, is over there drooling about the Angle Angel. Yeah, Falk and Viking are now the same company, and they also own Singer, which they don't want to talk about. It's been like that for a few years. And Vicky says she can't share because Facebook is down. Yes, it is. It's been acting up, I hear. I haven't even tried to do a whole lot on it today. But yeah. So that's it. We're through the comment section. And Eric's out the corner now. He's calling Debbie Prickly Pear. And I can't think of anything else because I normally will come in here about 3 or 4 hours before we do live, pull what I'm going to show you, kind of have some kind of idea. But when I woke up at 5 minutes till, I had about 10 minutes to get the camera out here, to get some stuff, to get the shirts, because I forgot about it last week. So I didn't really think about this topic to do a little bit more planning topic with it. So I hope everybody has some of their questions answered about machine quilting. And Joan says she loves her Falk, but it is expensive. And Tina says Eric, she loves the glass pane and dry erase marker on top of the block to imagine quilting ideas. Darlene says I'm not on Facebook or Instagram. You know, I wasn't either, and people just made it so that I had to get on Facebook. I didn't have to get on Instagram, but I just went ahead and did it. I've only got a couple of posts over there on Instagram. But I feel like you got to kind of go where most things are being advertised. Sometimes a lot of great advertisements for quilt-related stuff will also come through Facebook. And then it also has its bad side where you'll get somebody trying to scheme quilters as well. So, got to be careful with that. And she says she doesn't use or Twitter. I didn't see the Twitter part. I'm frozen now.